to something fresh.
All right, we go live on the Facebook page, YouTube channel, as well as on Twitter right now. And workers who were exposed to the virus allege they were forced to test and reveal their HIV status in order to get tests for COVID-19. And the Department of International Relations and Cooperation is now involved in all of this. Joining me online is Elna Schutz for Spotlight and writing in the Daily Maverick. Elna, what is happening in this particular story?
Well, good morning, Asan, to all of the listeners and viewers. This is quite an interesting story, and I think one that we should all be aware of, because we do have certain rights in this country. And at the Libyan embassy in Pretoria, there was a case where a worker or a few workers thought that they might have been exposed to COVID-19 in the workplace, and they approached their employer to ask for them to help them with the test. And then there was pressure for them to get an HIV test, which you may know is illegal in South Africa, to force someone to tell you whether they are HIV positive, because you might stigmatize them on that basis. So basically what the workers are alleging is that their employer, the Libyan embassy, was asking them to test for HIV and then to reveal that to them.
Mm-hmm. And in your interaction, if there was any with the Libyan embassy, have they managed to provide some kind of answers as to why this was done?
Unfortunately, no, and I would love some answers. As a journalist, as you know, we have to do our very best to give everybody in the story a chance to speak and to show their side. But unfortunately, I tried quite regularly for I think about 2 weeks to give them a chance. They were told what was going to be in the article, and they did not answer. They did say that they're aware of the situation, and if they have any corrections or anything they want to add, I'm all ears. But no, I don't know yet.
And in your interaction then with DIRCO, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, they would also be playing a key role. In fact, we see that they are said to be investigating the allegations. What role or what has their, what have they done in this particular story?
So the very important thing here to know is that this is not the first time. In 2018, there was a very similar situation at the very same embassy where the embassy again pressured, or for the first time pressured, staff and said, you must get an HIV test, we want to know. And that was stopped. It wasn't, the tests weren't taken because DIRCO, the Department of International Relations, because they stepped in, they intervened, they had meetings and wrote letters and said, it's against the law in South Africa, you're not allowed to do that, we ask you to stop. So one would hope that a similar situation would happen this time, or perhaps even more. But there are various bodies that have been approached, including a union that's working quite closely with the workers. The South African Human Rights Commission has been approached, and as you see in that article, everyone in the legal profession is rather clear that this is illegal.
Mm-hmm. And one is the embassies and DIRCO and what the law says, but ultimately at the core of it all are the people that are involved in the story, the workers that needed to do this particular test and go through all of that. What have they expressed to you? Some of the emotions perhaps that they felt as they were allegedly pressurized to have the HIV status revealed.
I'm glad you asked that, because that's exactly why I wrote the story, and I think we need to keep people at the center of our journalism and of these issues. It's not just an HIV test. It is somebody who's been working for over 10 years, sometimes 15 or 20 years, at a place that, first of all, they're being pressured to make the decision to take an HIV test. They don't get to make that decision themselves. And then they might lose their jobs based on the basis of that test. So so what the workers were telling me was a lot of concern and even anger in respect to the actual test. But then, of course, also we are in a pandemic, and there was a lot of fear in that period. After they thought they might have gotten exposed to COVID-19, there was a lot of fear about getting exposed and getting sick, and the workers were actually saying, let's then take the HIV test if we really have to, even though it's illegal. So a lot of emotions there. But the thing that I'm very glad about is that they were so aware, as we all should be, that they have a right to protect their HIV status. And I've been rather vague in the article to protect them. But one of the workers did talk to me about being HIV positive and just being wanting that to be private, and obviously being scared of stigma.
Is there any recourse now? I mean, what steps can these workers take besides just complaining to DIRCO? Is there anything they can do? Will there be any remedy to the situation that they find themselves in?
So that's where the union comes in, and they are doing everything they can, and the workers themselves have approached various bodies. Because this is in the workplace, the CCMA might be able to help. The council, I always get this wrong, the Council for Mediation.
Conciliation.
And arbitration, there we go. That labour body may be able to step in, as we said, DIRCO. So hopefully somewhere between the departments, we can at least get the workers' safety to just feel like they won't be stigmatized and they'll be able to stay. But in terms of remedies beyond that, I'm not informed yet.
Elna Schutz, for writing for Spotlight and the Daily Maverick, thank you so much for your time this morning and sharing this important story with us. Yes, that's Elna Schutz, and we'll follow up on this one to see where it ends up for these particular workers. Revealing or having been forced to reveal your HIV status goes against the law and the ethics, I think, of medical professions, and people should not be forced to have to reveal those kinds of that kind of information. But that brings us just to the end of the hour. Coming up next, inshallah, will be the news from the studios of Al Ansar.